Ladies and gentlemen, dear journalists, welcome to the Outdoor by ISPO main press conference. I'm happy that you are our guests today. My name is Amrei Kommer and I'm the responsible PR manager for Outdoor by ISPO. First of all, I would like to introduce you our speakers for today. I warmly welcome Klaus Dittrich, Chairman and CEO of Messe München, Arne Strate, General Secretary of the European Outdoor Group, Antje von Dewitz, CEO of VD, and Ryan Gallot, General Manager EMEA of Patagonia Outdoor Clothing and Gear. I will now hand over to Mr. Dittrich.
Good morning, everybody, from my side as well. For us, it's a great and very happy day today because we have the opportunity to redeem what we have promised to the industry and to our partner European Outdoor Group. As you will see, I think we could realize a lot of that that we promised already. We are proud that Europe's biggest outdoor trade show has arrived in the Bavarian capital. We have excellent weather, but outdoor there's never wrong weather. It's always not the right clothing, but we are happy to have such an excellent summer meanwhile and to use all the opportunities that our venue can provide. We consider this trade show as a starting signal to set off into a new area for the whole outdoor industry. In the upcoming 4 days, we will show, discuss and present outdoor in all its facets. And we won't stop afterwards. We also established Outdoor by ISPO 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is what by ISPO stands for, the first international year-round multi-channel platform for the whole outdoor industry. The first Outdoor by ISPO trade show brings together more than 1,000 exhibitors from 35 countries. That's already, I think, a big success to have such a start with more than 1,000 exhibitors, 84% of them coming from abroad. And the countries with the largest participation are, despite Germany, UK, Italy, the Netherlands, China, Sweden, and the United States. All together, and that's, I think, the second success, we fill 9 of our 18 halls. Originally, we planned 6 halls, so it's at the end 9 halls. And together with the outdoor exhibition area, it's almost 100,000 square meters of exhibition space for outdoor. The great participation from the very beginning proves that the industry strongly believes in our concept. Furthermore, it demonstrates the importance of trade shows, of personal meetings, of direct contact. It remains essential to get into personal exchange despite of all digital channels that we can use at the moment. Aligned with the industry's quest for sustainability, we are able to offer fairgrounds that are a trade fair site that is operated according to sustainable principles. That was a rule from the very beginning when we planned this venue to be sustainable. So we have more green space than exhibition space, indoor space, 220,000 square meters, 2,500 trees. We are using solar energy on our rooftops. We are using geothermal energy for heating. I just had the opportunity to collect the first honey from our bees that we host here at the venue since half a year. So that's the venue. But in addition, together with the industry and the European Outdoor Group, we developed a first code of conduct that should give advice to all the stakeholders of this event, the exhibitors, the agencies, the stand constructors, the service providers, as well as the visitors to act sustainable and to give them advice, concrete tips, what they can do to contribute to sustainability with regard to saving water, electricity, reducing waste, reusing resources, buying food from the region, and many, many other aspects. It is here at Outdoor by ISPO where trade visitors will discover and experience a comprehensive outdoor mindset. Just a short reminder, our whole concept for Outdoor by ISPO is based on a modern and inclusive understanding of outdoor. We believe that outdoor is a mindset, and there is a perfect outdoor for every single person in the world. By accepting other individual interpretations of this mindset, we open up to new target groups and gain new opportunities for the industry to grow. Classic outdoor activities such as mountaineering and trekking are the core. They are complemented by other activities consumers already perceive and define as outdoor. For example, water sports, mountain biking, or trail running. Last but not least, we want to connect the outdoor industry with other industries such as electronics, environmental technologies, or real estate development. It is our aim to actively bring their innovations that we show at other trade shows in our portfolio to the outdoor industry. Following the requirements of the European Outdoor Group and in close contact with the stakeholders of the outdoor sector, we developed our show concept. How to interact with established and how to reach new target groups. Where do we find new business opportunities? We provide answers to these questions as well as impulses and ideas on how to face the consumers and their individual needs. Altogether, 19 focus areas and activation areas spotlight different aspects of the new outdoor mindset. Each of them has its own relevance, but I would like to briefly introduce some of them to give you an impression and to illustrate the evolution of outdoor and the corresponding chances for the industry. For example, our indoor climbing hub. Climbing and bouldering are the winning sports of urbanization and are booming here in Munich as well as in the big cities of the world. Indoor climbing has become a real fitness sport. Innovative climbing gyms from all over the world present themselves. High-ranking guests from the International Olympic Committee and the International Federation of Sport Climbing athletes and coaches will discuss the future of their sports. Also based on the progressing urbanization, it is the urban outdoor segment. The fusion of outdoor with streetwear and fashion is visualized in the so-called borderlands. This curated part of the exhibition integrates product innovations, photography, design, art, and style. Here, technical and urban clothing with outdoor performance is shown, which is also suitable for the city. But it's far more than that. It's about combining craftsmanship and aesthetics with analog nature in a digital world and a post-digital future. With this world premiere, we have been able to win some new brands for our show that have not been exhibiting at outdoor trade fairs before, like Billabong, Element, and Griffin. Think outside of the box is the motto of our cross-industry area. We show which other industries we can and should work with. We were able to win the Organic and Printed Electronics Association as a presenter for this event. In addition, there will be a case of the Next Entrepreneur Initiative. 4 partners specify a future topic, which is evaluated and worked on in teams. The teams consist of teenagers from the generations that are able and willing to become entrepreneurs. They are going to work Monday to Wednesday live at the area in Hall B5 and will also present their results on Wednesday afternoon there. Finally, I would also like to highlight our interdisciplinary areas like our Startup Hub, the Basecamp for Inspiration, the CSR Hub and Sustainability Kiosk, the Women's in Outdoor Business Lounge, and in particular, our Retail Lounge. There, all our trade visitors will find new inspiration for the point of sale and exchange for their daily business. They will take advantage of cross-theme lectures and presentations and take part in exciting discussion rounds. The main topics are new retail and social trends, digitalization and technology, sustainability and fashion, as well as entertainment and influencer marketing and social media sale. By including these mainly digital issues in our program, we take up the distinctly growing impact of digitalization in the whole business. This is also the reason why we are holding the ISPO Digitize Summit for the second time this year. This digital conference for the outdoor and sports business takes place on July 3rd and 4th at our International Conference Center, ICM, in the western part of the venue. Visitors will find hands-on presentations, discussion rounds, workshops, and much more on the subjects of data analytics and CRM, digital talents and recruiting, change management and digital culture, digital infrastructure, and also esports. The list of speakers includes well-known representatives of the outdoor, sports, and online sectors, such as Tim Genoway and Steffen Hack from Adidas, Dr. Carsten Keller from Zalando, Sébastien Lances-Termer from Microsoft, and many others. For all visitors interested in both Outdoor by ISPO and ISPO Digitize Summit, we do offer bundle tickets. I cordially invite you to this conference as well. However, with everything that we offer the trade visitors in terms of familiar and new, we want even more. We also want to activate the population and bring people outdoors. We spread the outdoor feeling out of our exhibition halls into the world and share our passion and dynamic with consumers. That's why we created the Out Days, an outdoor festival in the Munich metropolitan area. Together with 43 partners from the industry and trade, as well as media and non-profit organizations, we implement 33 events and special offers for the public. The main focus is on so-called priceless moments. What does it mean? For example, we organized the Eishold Midsummer Night, where 16 outdoor enthusiasts meet at the Hinterdux Glacier and spend the night together in a bivouac camp at 3,000 meters altitude. Or the Camper Van Challenge. 8 outdoor fans drive in provided vans through the surrounding area of Munich and try out various outdoor sports. But also for those with less time, looking for some after-work amusement, the Out Days provide an offer. The program features a night hike through Munich, bare feet, by the way, meet and greets with well-known outdoor people like Tim Leatherman, open-air film nights, and much more. Our Out Days concept not only works in Munich, starting and ending in Hamburg. 8 selected participants are going to travel for a week with a VW bus through northern Germany or Scandinavia. By realizing some predefined activities and reporting via social media, they may collect hero points and get the chance to become Out Days Hamburg hero. In addition, there is our new Outdoor Society, a year-round content platform especially for the outdoor industry. The new product is a consistent addition to ISPO.com that you know very well, I suppose. It complements our broad range of analog and digital services in the ISPO network and adds a new opportunity for the sector to directly connect with their target group 365 days a year. But first of all, let's get started with our premier Outdoor by ISPO, show and celebrate the outdoor mindset thank you for coming. I wish our exhibitors good business, good relation to the retailers, and a successful start of OutDoor by ISPO here in Munich. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dittrich. So, Arne, how important does the EOG consider the end consumer activation to be?
Well, maybe one first things first. Since this is the first official event of this show, Mr. Dittrich, I'd like to take the opportunity to congratulate you again, you and your team, for the winning concept of the new outdoor show, which is now then, of course, called OutDoor by ISPO. Secondly, of course, thanks for the very warm welcome. Thanks for having us in Munich. Now, I was going to show you the market research data, but I think before that, it's a very good point to dive into a topic that is equally important. We are having the first show here in a new concept, which is very necessary in a time where markets are changing. Nothing is like it was 5 years ago, and nothing is almost resembling how it was 10 years ago. So the change is there, the change is happening at an accelerated pace. And when so much change is happening, things can get complicated. And when things get complicated, it is always a very, very good idea to strip away all the noise of everyday business and look at the foundation of what is going on in the trade. Why are we even here? And when I take that into account, then there's two major things that stick out for me, and that is the only reason why our trade even exists is that there is nature and people who want to go out into nature. That's really the only reason why we are here. We equip those people who want to go out with equipment for their outdoor adventures. Now, there are more capable people on the board of the EOG, my colleagues here, that can talk about the nature bit. But I would like to take the opportunity and speak about the active people bit. It's very clear that without people going outdoors, there is no outdoor business, and that's just a fact. So it is in our very, very best interest as a trade to make sure that we share the outdoor experience with everyone out there to get more people into the outdoors in a meaningful and also responsible way. Now, you all will remember that we have started in 2017 a new association called the It's Great Out There Coalition. And this coalition has been at work since 2017 to deliver inspiration, to advocate for the outdoor experience, and to also facilitate that, to just make it very simple and bring it to the forefront of the opinions. Because it is not just, and I'm very, very transparent about this, it's not just the foundation of our business in the future, today and in the future, but it's also our part of responsibility towards society. When you think of all these things that can come with life in a modern society, from depression, mental issues, health issues in general, then I think if I was a doctor, I had one pill to prescribe that could solve most of these things, and it's outdoor activity. So by investing into finding ways and inspiring Europe to get active outdoors, we are not only working to make sure that we have a solid foundation for our sector in the future, we're also taking our responsibility towards society with a very good solution for some of the problems that are arising today even more. Now, back to your question, Amrei. Sorry, I took a bit.
No worries.
Back to your question, it is of the greatest importance, because if there are no people active outdoors, then that's it for our business. Plain and simple. So with the It's Great Out There coalition, we're launching the next stage this year by employing our first full-time employee, taking it to the next level in Brussels with an office. The lady is very, very versed and skilled in politics, has a degree in politics, and we're very much looking forward to having even more influence and more impact directly where it matters with the authorities for the European Union in Brussels. Moving on, as I said, the market numbers, of course. And we have had it at our General Assembly yesterday. I can say as of today that the market is pretty flat. We have an official decrease of 1%, which we have never had to report before. But I think that just reflects the way that the market sits right now. As much as 1% plus wouldn't be a reason to have a big party, 1% less is also not a reason to all jump out of the window. But we can certainly say that the market is stagnant, it is flat, but we have to take into account that this is coming after a very, very strong year in 2017. So the industry overall value has not changed much. So in a time, and I said, the times they are changing quicker than ever, we are relatively solid. That's the way I would like to put it. Here's a breakdown of all the categories that we look into. And as a highlight, I would like to point your attention to the climbing part, which has done exceptionally well. So even though there was a slight overall decline or a flat market, the climbing has really done a great job for the industry. And I think that's also, again, an example of how the industry, the outdoor industry, can set trends that appeal to a wider audience, like it was there before with trail running. We're seeing the same thing again with climbing right now. And we have to say that indoor climbing facilities do cater to that. It is very accessible. Therefore, we're seeing a great increase in the climbing sector. If you want to learn more about the details of this, please visit my colleague Pauline Shepard. She's at the back of the room. She will hold her detailed State of Trade report today at 12 in room B41. If you didn't know, now you know. You get all the details from her, and she's much more versed in the topic than I am. One last thing on the market research side that I would like to highlight is the sell-in is a very important tool for us. Gives us an idea of how large the market is. But in order to have the real truth, we need the sell-through from retail, the sell-out of the market. And therefore, we have launched a pilot with retail members from the EUG that has been running for 18 months. And we're now going into the next phase to directly measure the sell-through of the outdoor market in Europe. And to have a more clearer picture, a better and a clearer picture of the market, we are opening this up to non-EUG members. So that's a big point. And the reason for this is to have better resolution in the market, because we know that not everybody can be a member of the EUG, but we should talk to everybody when it comes to the real sell-through numbers. This is also being presented, I believe, in the retail lounge. Unfortunately, I can't see the times right now, but it is daily updates at 2 o'clock, as far as I remember. And 2 o'clock, retail lounge, you'll get all the lowdown on how we are going to measure sell-through from retail for the European outdoor market. Now, I've told you that nature and active people are the foundation of our sector. And the reason why we should stay in business is, of course, that we do business in a way that doesn't destroy the planet. And I think this is probably a very good transition over to my board colleague, Antje van Dewitz.
Yeah, but first of all, Antje, I wanted to know something else. What's your first impression of the show? What's your impression when you arrived here at the halls? Yeah.
Actually, I'm a little bit nervous. And my first impression was gratefully very good. My first impression was that sustainability has a really big place, found a big place within the fair. I just walked to a few halls, but to see IOCA having a big booth, like, I don't know, you gave them 100 square meters or something like that, that really puts a focus on topics on sustainability, and that makes me happy. And the second impression was walking to my booth, and we are in the very end of the hall, which is makes me quite nervous, not being in the front. But walking through there and seeing all these really beautifully designed booths, and your effort to make it experienceable, I think it works. I like it. It looks like a well-designed store, and so my first impression is gratefully very good.
Yeah, we already heard from Anne about sustainability. And why do you think is sustainability such an important topic for the industry? Why is it a must for us?
Yeah, so I got this question before, and I'm sorry if I tell you something that you all know, but I'll take the chance. So, because we are outdoor for future, we have to be outdoor for future. There's big, as you all know, there are big troubles out there. Climate change. We have 10 years left. I don't know if it's so in all our minds. We have 10 years left. We have all the technology. We have the methodology, but we have just 10 years left to act, to create a climate change that doesn't make nature and people suffer too much. Already there are people out there dying because of climate change. Countries are drowning because of climate change. So 2015 has been the hottest year ever. 2016 again, 17 again, 18 again, and just look outside, 19 will again be the hottest year ever. So it's urgent, we have to act. But this is nothing new. Second biggest global thing, plastic waste. I don't know, but I think probably it popped in all our minds since China has stopped taking all our garbage. I looked into the figures and I was quite impressed that since 1992, China took 45% of the world's garbage, and now they stopped. And the problem is, we don't take it ourselves, but we now import it into countries which don't have plastic systems. They don't have systems to recycle, to sort. It's just going into the oceans. 2 weeks ago, we had marine biologists at VD and the WWF. And what I heard there really, really shocked me, because the plastic you see in the oceans, there's a plastic island of the size of Central Europe. But all this plastic in there is just 1% of the plastic garbage worldwide. And they think that the oceans are sort of, it drowns everything in the ocean. And it goes into microplastic. So microplastic, one big challenge for us. Extinction of species, something that this is the most drastic challenge that we all face. Since the extinction of the dinosaurs, this is the second biggest extinction that we're actually now facing. And the dinosaurs, they were extinct because they were hit by a meteorite. There is no meteorite, we make it ourselves. So according to the WWF, since the last 40 years, 60% of the vertebrate animals have gone down drastically in numbers. And especially drastically all the insects. And insects make part of 2/3 of all the ecosystems. So first the insects die, then the others die. Then it's a problem for us. So we're really facing huge global problems. This is not new, but what is new is that people are acting. People are not... Do you all know the fairy tale of the king that is naked, but nobody tells him? It seems to me like this, what we are facing is like, now we're seeing that he's naked. Now we're suddenly saying, okay, oh my God, we have problems. And I'm really happy that we're in times now that people are facing and are going on the streets. Here you see a demonstration in Bavaria, having a referendum for more protection of the species. Here you see people demonstrating in Brussels, demonstrating for more legal measures against single-use plastic. You see that people change their behavior. You see popping out of stores where people don't use single-use plastic anymore, but bring their glasses to fill in their flour and all that. You see that kids are going on the street. All over the world, kids are demonstrating, and kids are telling us, stop analyzing, stop debating, stop telling us that there are too many problems to act. Act now. And I think that it's very important that not only the politicians are asked to act, but since a few years you can see that the consumers, they are far ahead than the companies. Consumers worldwide, 75% of the consumers worldwide find it important that brands actively participate in solutions to social and environment problems. And 59% also put more effort in their boards on social and ecological aspects. And why should the outdoor industry act? Especially because nature is our playground, nature is our business field. We have to protect nature, otherwise we're going out of business. That's the one reason. And the second reason, which I think is even more important, is we're responsible. We're so much responsible. The outdoor industry is part of the global textile industry. And the global textile industry is one of the biggest cause for all these problems. Just look at climate change. Producing apparel, producing textiles uses tons of energy, tons of electricity, tons of chemicals, tons of water worldwide. I read figures that we are responsible for about a tenth of all the CO2 emissions. 2.7 billion of CO2 tons are emitted per year. So climate change, one point. Garbage, plastic waste. We're the third biggest cause of microplastic, the global textile industry. And 90% of all textiles are produced in Asia. And in almost all the countries in Asia, there is no system for garbage. So in all the productions, the garbage is going into the rivers, is going into the oceans. There's a problem there. And of course, chemicals as one big cause of the dying of the species. Just think of cotton. Cotton is one of the most used textiles. There are fields, cotton fields out there. They take 2% of the agricultural space. But 25% of all pesticide worldwide are putting into these cottons. But you don't just have to look at cotton, just look at overall. According to Greenpeace, 3,500 harmful chemicals causing cancer, causing damage are being used by the textile industry worldwide. So we're responsible. We have to act because it's our damn duty to find solutions. And what I find, what gives me a lot of hope is that we as VD are being asked at the moment everywhere, from the local level, from politicians, from the federal level, from the EU level, up to the UN level, because they are looking for solutions. We have the global sustainable goals, and they're asking themselves, how can they be implemented? How can it be done? How can we create laws, and how can we create standards to support an economy that is more social and fair than before? So it has been raised now to a political level, and this really gives me hope that something is moving now. And why are they asking us as VD? Because we can show that we act. And this is very, very helpful, because we can show, okay, at the headquarters, we are already climate neutral. We can show that since years we have empowerment programs in our entire supply chain to set up chemical management systems, sustainable management systems, to save energy, to save resources. And it is possible. It is possible to create transparent supply chains. It is a never-ending story. It is a never-ending journey. But even for us, even this is the most important part, even for a smaller company, it is possible. So act. And we created Green Shape as a label for ecological products that are on the highest possible standard. And we've reached 98% of our entire apparel is in green shape. So that's a good message, because it is possible. And all our production sites are audited according to the highest standards of fair wear. It is possible. It is a never-ending story, but it is possible to make globalization in a fair way. You never stop, and you have to go on, and you always find continuous improvements, but it is possible. And of course, it is not VD alone. We are in an industry that is taking up steps, and I'm proud that we are pushing also. And standards like fair wear, standards like Bluesign, they can't be possible by one company only. It is possible because there are other companies within the outdoor industry that take up the same level, that take up the same standard. And I'm very proud that now 100 brands of the outdoor industry, of the EOG, have signed the Sustainability Charter. And it is worth to take a look inside, because it's a road in there. It's described a road in there. 3 steps towards sustainable business. And almost everybody has described now. That's a good message, because we have to act. And it's also a good message that we together act since years. For example, in the single-use plastic projects, brands together acting, trying to reduce a single plastic, trying to find alternatives. Or brands in IOCA, in our industry-own environmentally saving project. Since 2 years, we're trying to get the mountain to sea plastic-free, and we're working together, so it works. And what makes me especially proud is because it all starts that you accept that you're part of the problem. this is where the journey starts. And you have to have the attitude to say, okay, I am part of the problem, but I want to be part of the solution. So, and this is where the journey starts. And I'm really proud on our industry that we have agreed on this mission, on this vision, that we are the voice of the European outdoor sector, and our vision is to do global business in a way that gives back more than we take from nature and people. You can't expect a plan up to this point. You can't expect the numbers. You can't expect now quantities. But you can expect us to follow this up with programs and numbers. And this is a game changer because you do business and you take resources. It's a game changer because then we say we want to give back more to people and to environment than we take. It's a game changer, and we all agreed to follow this route. So that makes me proud. And now we are partners with the ISPO, more than ever, with the Messe Munich. So we worked hard together, because for us it's so important as an EOG to follow this route to sustainability in a holistic way, and not only to do it at a brand and then we go on a fair and it's different. So we had a lot of discussions, and I'm very grateful that that the barrier was not great, because you already felt this way too. So I'm happy to proclaim challenge accepted. We're working together on this path. You've created a code of conduct, which is great. You also have this attitude of saying yes. Fairs is a problem. There's so much energy, there's so much resources that are spent. Let's start this journey, let's go together. So first step, code of conduct, giving tips, this is where it starts. Just thinking about it, thinking what creates problem and creating solutions. But what makes me especially proud, and I'm honored that I can tell you, because this is something, they want to create a climate neutral trade show. And of course you cannot ask them now, so how are you going to do this? But it's the attitude, it's the vision, it's one day we will reach this. And I have experienced the team of the ISPO as being very ambitious, very energetic, very professional when they have a goal in their minds. So I'm looking forward to this road together, and I'm proud to be on a fair that has such an ambitious goal. Thank you.
Ryan, now we've heard a lot about sustainability and about the activism of the consumers. They're getting active, they're going on the streets, they are demonstrating. What does it mean for the industry? How do you react? What does Patagonia do? And which opportunities and challenges do you have there?
Yeah, it's hard to even find my footing after all that passion and info. It's first of all, congrats to all that you guys are doing, and it's really humbling to hear you speak about it with so much passion. So thank you for that. And also for the trade show group, I mean, I think that I think we all sit here and acknowledge that we have taken a step, and we're really proud of the step we've taken. But it's one step in a never-ending journey to minimize our footprint as an industry and to provide the kind of leadership we need to. I would also just take a minute and thank, we can sit around here and pat ourselves on the back for, as leaders, signing agreements and setting direction, but I think the hard work's done by a lot of people who are not sitting up here right now, and I just take a minute to congratulate those guys for really making this thing happen, so thanks to them. I think to your question about activism, there was so much that was just covered about, and you guys know this, we all read the same sources of news, which is the temperature on the street, and I think that, I'll make a statement that I think a lot of people agree with, perhaps not everybody. My position is that the problems that we're dealing with should be first and foremost solved by government, but they're not being solved by government, and they're not going to be solved exclusively by government. I think that they have proven consistently not to be up to the challenge. And I think individuals acting individually can bring passion, they can bring commitment, they can make changes in their lives, but it's not going to be enough either. And so I think there's a real role for business, and it's doing the things that were just spoken about and minimizing our footprint. But I think we at Patagonia think that it's got to go way beyond that as well, and that's supporting activism, and that's doing it through funding, that's doing it through training programs and adding capacity. we've introduced a new digital platform, and this is not a commercial for Patagonia, I just want to share with you some of the thinking because I think it really can apply to the trade show and the industry, but we've introduced a digital platform 18 months ago in the US, and it came on the heels of a learning that we had from Black Friday in 2016, where a week before Black Friday, on the heels of the Trump election, we decided to give away all of the revenue that day to grassroots organizations. Our biggest revenue day was about $3 million on a Black Friday previously. With a week's notice, we did $10.5 million that day, and I don't think our product got materially better in that week. What happened was people really wanted to participate, and the learning for us was, how do we enable that but get out of the way? How can that happen through support from a brand, but that we don't manage that process? And so we've created something that we're bringing to Europe here in September called Patagonia Action Works, and the intent is to connect the 1,200 NGOs that we have relationships with anybody out in the world that wants to learn about their work, participate in their campaigns, show up at their events. And the piece that's been most interesting is provide skilled volunteering. And so that's somebody that says, hey, I want to participate in a way beyond just showing up at an event or going to a beach cleanup. I'm a graphic designer, and it looks like an organization working on a topic important to us. Needs logo development support or something. And in the first 18 months we've done this, we've had over 15,000 man hours of skilled volunteering. And so we're bringing it to Europe with the hope that we can continue to enable this kind of positive change. To loop back to the industry now, I really feel like as businesses, first and foremost, we've got a responsibility to clean up our own footprint, but I think we've got to be thinking as a sector and as an industry much more ambitiously than that. And I think that includes in ways that it's going to be different for different companies and maybe as an industry, but how can we support the people out there on the street that are doing this work? And in Germany, one of my favorite organizations is Ende Gelände. That's probably a controversial statement in a room that's got a mixed audience, but I think those guys are doing fantastic work on the front lines of trying to steer Germany away from its dependence on coal towards more renewable sources. There are other organizations that are taking a different approach, and there are many topics and there's many ways of solving these problems, but I think that the narrative here is that people out on the street really care about these issues. They're doing a lot of hard work. We need to support them with our voices. We need to support them with our resources, and we should take increasing responsibility in getting creative and figuring out other ways that we can enable the kind of system change that we know we need, which is a really long-winded and diplomatic way of saying, shame on all of us that a 15 or 16-year-old from Sweden is held up as a leader on these issues. I have infinite respect for the work she does, but we sit in front of some really big businesses, and we've got degrees, and we got experiences, and we got all these other things we have. Shame on us that we can't do better than that, and that's got to be the aspiration.
You're asking who?
Sorry?
You're asking him?
Generally, to businesses mostly,
Yeah.
because it's all good and well that we do want sustainability, but ultimately you want to sell products and you want to make the profit because that's what your shareholders are wanting. And what Greta is saying, that we need to totally change our mindset, which means every business becomes an NGO, a not-for-profit organisation.
Yeah, I'll speak to that for a minute, and maybe we can. I think there's a couple of things that we share. One of them is we're both privately held, family-owned businesses, and so I think our shareholders, the same guy in our case that started the business, and I don't think there's anybody within the Patagonia business or sphere that's more committed to these issues than Yvonne, our founder and owner. So that box is checked pretty quickly there. I think that the reality, though, and this is a piece that I think is very transferable to other businesses with different ownership structures, is we have been growing. You heard the industry numbers. We grew. We had really solid double-digit growth last year here in Europe. We had really solid double-digit growth globally last year. And I think that what we've tried to do are a couple of things. One is build a 46-year track record of thinking about these issues, being very transparent about the impact that we have, acknowledging that we always need to do things better. Talk all day about things that we've accomplished, but the reality is, number one, we're contributing to the microplastic problems and a host of other things, and those are problems that we've got to figure out how to solve. And so we try to be open and honest about that. And then the other thing is we just continue to try to be an active part of scaling the solutions that we find. And so I don't think, and I think at the end of it all, one of the reasons that we're very committed to holding on to the business, not selling it, using the money to do something else, or creating a foundation where it doesn't have the for-profit pressure is we really think that business has got to be part of the solution. And we have got to prove that you can be a profitable business if we want to influence other businesses, not just within outdoor, but in the broader business sector.
Maybe a few words from my side. VD is 45 years old. We are on this very consequent path since around about 12 years. And we didn't start out as the ecological company. So we are in a transformation process since 12 years. And our market hasn't changed. So we cannot start out as saying, so we are now the ecological brand, so our prices go up by 30%. We can't do that. So we are in the same competition as before. So it's hard, it's tough, it's really, really hard. It's so much work, it's so many costs. And this is one thing that really makes me, what I have every time difficulty when I think about it. We are in an economical system that makes it really, really tough to be able to take responsibility. That is my own responsibility. So because responsibility in global supply chain is voluntarily. So this is something that really kicks me off, and this is why I'm really heavily politically involved, because I say we have to change the system. It cannot be that you have more costs to take responsibility, and people that don't do it, they have lower prices, higher margins. It's tough for us. Yes, if you could, for example, compare the marketing budgets. Our marketing budget is really, really low because we put everything that we have in sustainability. Yeah.
Maybe there's even something that I can add from a European outdoor group perspective on this. I think the thinking that sustainability goes against, the dividend or against the profit of your company. I think that we're probably at a crossroad right now. So but for me, the direction is very clear. Those two things don't have to be separated at all. And if you look at what you just said, Ryan, you made an announcement within a week before Black Friday, and your turnover tripled, which means the consumer cares. And if the consumer cares, then is that not really the money that you spend on being more environmentally friendly? Is that then not investing in the brand equity, rather than having expenses that you have to deal with? It might be a long process, and it might not return directly. Well, in this case, it has to return directly. So maybe that's the way to look at it also. Certainly not 100% there yet, but I think the direction is visible.
Yeah, one addition, it's tough, but we make it. And since 10 years, our revenues doubled, so more than doubled. So this is also the way that we are going. We're growing stronger than the competition. That's why we can afford it too. Yeah.
Any further questions?
Frau Diewitz, maybe you can follow up. As a rule, how much more expensive are sustainable produced outdoor goods compared to traditionally produced ones? And when you look at the customer, sometimes what the customer says and what the customer does and buys are two different pairs of shoes. Like he says he wants to have clean cars, but he's buying SUV cars, big ones. So how is that with your industry?
It's difficult for me to say in general how much more cost it is, because everything is implemented, and we don't have a special budget for sustainability, because everything we do in a sustainable way. But we have a rough number that we say that in general we spend 10 to 15% more, have higher costs, and the consumer, you can give in general 5 to 8%. You can raise the prices. Just a very general, broad thing. It depends on, is it really, really new? Is it something that raises emotion, like fleece from wood fiber against microplastic in the ocean? This was 2 years ago. This was a new topic. We were the only ones. Then you can achieve higher prices. But then the aim has to be that it gets the economies of scale and the prices come down, because if you want to sell more, then it has to be in the normal price ranges. The experience that we have is since many years we have a Green Shape campus at our booth, where we educate our dealers and the sellers in the stores with sustainability. So in order to make them to enable them to sell sustainably, to advise on sustainability, to show sustainable solutions. And we regularly get the feedback that afterwards they are able to sell on higher prices, because then they're able to bridge the gap between what the customer wants and what does he does. Because what is missing is the trust that the solutions are there, and the trust in the brands or in the labels. So you need somebody to bridge the gap, because for the consumer it's very complex.
I'll just add to that a little bit tangentially. I think there's a real opportunity in these trade show environments to do a couple of things. One is include civil society organizations working on system change. I think that'd be a really interesting one. Hard to figure out who's going to pay for that and how you make it work in the context, but I think the idea is one we should continue to challenge ourselves on. And then the other thing I'd say is around scaling technologies. I think also figuring out how we can run events in the trade show environment that help to scale some of these things. Because to your point, when you're pioneering it, it's very expensive. If you can scale it, it becomes much more approachable. And I think that's something that we've got to figure out how we work together in a non-competitive way on.
Hello, good morning. Frederick from sportguide.com. Do you think that outdoor footwear industry could accelerate in sustainability in a short time, or it's only difficult every day?
My experience with the shoe is that they are far behind the shoe industry is far behind the apparel industry, and at VD, the shoe segment is the youngest segment. Since 10 years, we're making shoes, and since 10 years, we're really trying to get forward. And since the last 2 years, I think something really is moving with bio-based plastics, with recycled materials, with new approaches. So, and I think that what my experience is, the higher the pressure gets, and the more focus is spent, the more light is spent, the quicker it goes. And I think the shoe, it's getting time that I think that now the shoes are more closely looked at. And my experience is now it will accelerate, because the technology, it can be there. It can be there in a minute if the focus is put on there. And my impression is the focus is being more put on than before on the shoes.
Over there.
Hello. Since microplastic is one of the really biggest issues of all, what kind of solutions you have in mind to reduce this? I mean, I was very shocked when I read that all those comfortable and really convenient textiles are so harmful, and that you should put them in some bags. And then I saw those bags cost 30 euros. And I said, well, they really want to save the world. And it's yet another business. So I'm really wondering what could be the solutions, or do we have to go back? But then cotton is a problem as well. So it's really heavy on us, I guess, to imagine that there can be real solutions, or we go really back to whatever.
A couple thoughts. One is, I think, and I'll answer the question on microplastics in a minute, but the way I think about this more broadly, first of all, I think we have a consumption issue. I think we just buy as humans more stuff than we need, more stuff than is healthy. I think number two, as part of that, we need to really focus on keeping the product that we buy in use as long as possible. I think there's a variety of ways that can be done. It's buying things of quality, it's taking care of it, it's treating things not like adopting the behavior of a consumer, but instead the behavior of an owner. It's making sure that the product, if it's still usable, but you're done using it, gets into the hands of somebody else that will use it. So I think that's the single biggest thing we can do as individuals, is just look hard at our consumption behavior and figure out where we can make changes. I think the issue of microplastics, and again, as I said before, we're contributing to that, and that scares the hell out of us. But I think the reality is that's the issue that we're all talking about right now, as we continue to figure out the parameters of that issue. 5 years ago, it was another issue. 2 years from now, it's going to be another issue, which doesn't mean each of these will be solved, but the point is the deeper you look into your supply chains, and the more that we know, the more that we find out the scope of our impact. And so to your question about do we need to move backwards, you know, sometimes when we're in adversarial conversations with people who see things very differently, aka oil and gas and extractive industry companies, they label us as tree huggers and say we want to take everybody back to living in caves. And ultimately the narrative is, do we need to move backwards? And I look at it like this: if you're walking slowly and steadily towards the edge of a cliff and you realize there's a cliff and you stop and you say, I'm going to turn around and keep walking in the other direction, did you move backwards or did you just move in a different direction? And I think that's the analogy that's more applicable here. Specifically to microplastics, there are things that the outdoor industry in Europe are doing. There's things that the outdoor industry in the US are doing, and now thankfully the two are coming together. There are things that individual companies are doing, ourselves included, in funding research. And then there's a lot of solutions and a lot of hope, but unfortunately there's kind of a lot of false positives in the work right now around biodegradability of synthetic materials. And that's an area that I think we're all hopeful we can get to. But you know, you raised some other ancillary issues. If you use only organic materials, number one, should we be tying up valuable agricultural land on a planet where the population's quickly accelerating from 7.5 to 10 billion, making clothing that people don't necessarily need? And I think those are real issues. And you get into organic materials that have impact. So there's a lot there that I think needs to be looked at really holistically. I think the bottom line is we as humans have gotten ahead of ourselves, and we just have a bigger impact than this planet can sustain. And I think we need to think very holistically about how we address that.
So maybe one short answer, what are we doing? We're in EOG, we have a big, the EOG has a big project on microplastics, VD also with other industries. And looking into the scientific research is the first solutions that we found is that we created fleece made from wood fiber. The newest finding is, okay, but wood fiber or cotton or something like this doesn't naturally dissolve if it is treated with color or treated with chemicals. Then it takes on the specifics of chemical fiber, of plastic fiber. So what we do is we use this wood fiber inside of jackets, because this is where the abrasion is, this is where the little microfibers get lost, and it's not treated, so not colored, not chemically treated. So this is one first solution on the way to how can we deal with microplastic. And we have a whole collection now out there.
I think we could talk for hours and hours about this topic, but unfortunately we have to come to an end. As all our speakers said, we have many discussions and many presentations about sustainability on our trade show, so feel free to visit them. And I hope you have a pleasant show, and yeah, have a nice day.